Lahaina, and welcome to Voices of Truth One-on-One with Hawaii's Future, brought to you by the Kiwani Foundation. I'm Ehuke Kahu Cardwell, and here we are today on the windward side of Oahu. Beautiful area. We got a very special guest on the show today. Let's go on over here and meet him. Tom, aloha.
Aloha.
How are you? Tom Coffman, right?
That's right. Yeah.
It's an honor to have you on the show. You're an award-winning journalist and documentarian, and my goodness, all the things you've accomplished is just amazing. Tell us where we are today. What is this beautiful area?
Okay, this is Kualoa, and it looks out on, this is the high side of Kaneohe Bay. So as we look all of this way, that is, you know, the big windward bay of Oahu.
We wanted to talk about what you've done and what you've accomplished in terms of films and books about Hawaii. And you came out with a documentary some years ago called A Nation Within. As a matter of fact, you brought a copy with you today, right?
Yeah.
Of the DVD right here, A Nation Within. And what's interesting is, what year did this come out, Tom?
1998.
1998. And the subtitle of it is The Story of America's Annexation of the Nation of Hawaii. And to our viewers, remember that, because we're going to come back to this subtitle, The Story of America's Annexation of the Nation of Hawaii. Now, this won many awards, yes?
Yeah, it did. I'm not very good at reciting those things.
But we know there were plenty, and it actually aired on PBS.
Yeah, it aired very widely on PBS.
Yep. And so what caused you to want to make this documentary?
Well, the 100th anniversary observance of the overthrow occurred in 1993, and it provoked such an outpouring of you know, scholarship and films and chant, and then 30,000 people
and emotion
yeah, descending on the palace. 30,000 people descending on the palace, and so it was a tremendously important and reawakening. And I was aware from my work with the preeminent Hawaiian writer, historian, John Dominus Holt, that the events of the overthrow, you know, were being pretty successfully retrieved in history, and the history straightened out. But that the period between the overthrow and the annexation was kind of a, you know, black hole.
So there was a big knowledge gap,
there was a gap, and so what I determined to try to do something very in-depth, digging into, you know, that progression of history and those archival records in Hawaii and in Washington, D.C. And so it resulted in both of I went a little some people thought I went a little far off the deep end, but it resulted in a 90-minute film and a several hundred-page book.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had to do a lot of research, didn't you?
Yeah, I did a tremendous amount of research.
Yeah.
I found all of these really odd, very incestuous interconnections to Maine, the state of Maine.
Kennebunkport River in Maine is where this starts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it traces the people back there, the missionaries who were sent all the way to Hawaii.
Right.
Yep.
So it was a combination of people who, you know, knew each other intimately, who were involved in missionary work, business, politics, and a kind of, you know, imperial diplomacy. And they were all intimately acquainted with one another, and often they were, you know, related.
How many years of research, or how many months of research did you have to do in preparation for coming out with the documentary and the book?
It's really hard to say. We're in a very totally concentrated, do nothing else form. I worked on it for about 2.5 to 3 years.
Wow.
And then, but I had worked on the subject for, I don't know, it was almost like something I woke up every day with for about 20 years.
Wow. So this was like inside you bursting to get out?
Yeah, I mean, it was like I felt very compelled to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. Wow. And so it was what, you said 2.5 to 3 concentrated years.
Yeah.
But there was much more than that, yeah, which was not full time.
Preceding it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is really what you're talking about as a 20-year project, I guess, huh?
Yeah, you could say that.
Wow. How long did it take you to shoot it?
Maybe a year and a half.
Really? And what came first, the book or the documentary?
It's crazy. I did them simultaneously.
You're right. That is crazy.
Yeah, it was. I couldn't believe it. I mean, how energized I was by it, and I would wake up and it just gave me energy, and when I'd get really tired, sometimes I'd lie down on the floor and sleep for a few minutes and wake up and keep writing,
It had you, didn't it?
Yeah, it had me,
Yeah, wow.
So it was, in essence, it was a wonderful experience, It was also, kind of excruciating in that the history, the actual history of what happened between 1893 and 1898 was even darker and more tragic than I had imagined.
And that's the period from the overthrow
to the
supposed annexation, yes?
That takeover.
Yeah.
America's saying, yes, we take you in.
Yeah.
That was the unilateral, really. We take you in.
Yeah.
What's usually called the annexation. No, it's referred to 1893, the overthrow. 5 years pass, and Hawaii is subsumed by America.
Swallowed up, lock, stock, and barrel.
Yeah.
You said it was like an informational black hole between the time of the takeover and the annexation.
Right.
And so you were the guy who actually started to dig into that and find out the truth of what happened, yeah?
Well, I don't want to overstate what I did. I mean, other people certainly made significant contributions as well, but the whole goal of the project was to really open the subject up, and one of the remarkable things that happened is the Hawaiian scholar Noinoi Silva had run across the Hawaiian petitions against annexation.
The monster petitions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she helped me with the research and with the language translation, and she made a very big contribution to the project in the process. And by that working together, and by her persistence, they got all the petitions down here and had them all exhibited on the 100th anniversary of annexation.
And those petitions were basically pretty much 98% of all Hawaiians living at the time.
They were
saying that they did not want to be annexed to the U.S. They wanted Hawaii to remain an independent country as part of the Hawaiian Kingdom, yes?
Yeah. We do not want annexation. We protest annexation. And they're a very important part of revised history, because previously the mythologies that had been created by Lauren Thurston and Sanford Dole, really.
The people who took Hawaii over.
Who took Hawaii over was that the Hawaiians welcomed annexation, and it was a complete fabrication, and it was exposed as such by really developing scholarship on the petitions. The petitions, it had been a petition of the Hawaiian people to the United States government, and it had been taken to Hawaii, to Washington, D.C.
To Congress.
Yeah, by the leadership of the Huis, the patriotic, we call them patriotic societies, political parties. They were political parties in the making, and so as petitions to the United States government, they were archived. And once you finally figured out there was this opposition, there were petitions that were archived, it became a matter of finding them in the archives, and like anything in the National Archives, there you are, and they bring out all these boxes. And the first time I was there, I'm there and I'm alone, and with all these thousands and thousands of Hawaiian signatures and these papers. The bottom part was folded up, it was a little crumbled, and my God, it was.
There you were with the ancestors.
Yeah, and it's a complete at variance of what's known to be history, and
the opposite of what's in the history books, what we learned when we went to school, all that stuff.
So, eventually the archives were treated like rare documents, and they have archivists travel around with them, and on and on. And I think you can't walk in, and you can't touch them today. But I'm sitting there with just these white gloves, and
wow. How did it make you feel to be with those alone and holding a completely different version of history in your hands?
I think I was shaking a little,
Did you feel alone?
No, I felt, I felt a little alone in context of the National Archives. Nainai Silva came in to Hawaii Public Television, and she looked at what I think was the last edit of the film, and it was like almost broadcast day. And after we were done, she and I walked out together down this long hallway, which is a darkened hallway with just little pools of light. And that was when I felt, my God, she and I are walking out through this tunnel, and we're in this little tunnel, and we know what's in this.
Two people.
The world is about to find out. I felt very fortunate to have, been able to do it. I felt like a burden had been lifted.
I referenced earlier, Tom, that of the subtitle of this, the story of America's annexation of the nation of Hawaii, a few years, or I guess some years after that, you decided to revise the film and the book, yes?
Somebody, a very idealistic publisher from Maui came along, named Arnie Kotler at Koa Books, and wanted to do a second edition of my book because it had sold 5,000 copies and it's gone out of print. And in the process, what we did was we changed the title from The Story of America's Annexation of Hawaii to America's Occupation of Hawaii.
And that's what the cover of the book now says. The history of the American occupation of Hawaii.
Yeah.
No more annexation. Annexation was replaced with the word occupation.
Yeah. Can I read from this?
Sure, please
it
do.
explains it in the fewest words I could find. In the book subtitled "The Word Annexation Has Been Replaced by the Word Occupation," referring to America's occupation of Hawaii, where annexation connotes legality by mutual agreement. Right? The act was not mutual and therefore not legal, since by definition of international law there was no annexation. We are left with the word occupation. The way that history gets developed and the way that we retrieve to truthful history, or we retrieve truthful history, is a process. So I pushed the process, but I didn't push the process far enough. I got a second crack at it, but I was nudged along by young Native Hawaiian scholars, and I thought, oh my God, my own research findings say implicitly what they're saying, but I don't quite say it. So I was very happy to have a chance to revise the subtitle.
So I got a question for you. Did you push the process, or did the process push you?
Well, it's both. Yeah.
Yeah, it's both.
Yeah.
It's both. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you wanted to try to break it down, it was much more the process pushing me. In this sense, in our lifetime, we have lived through the extraordinary event, the reawakening of Hawaiian people, Hawaiian culture, Hawaiian political consciousness, and accurate history of all of those. And so that pushed me. I just was lucky enough to be there.
You were lucky enough to be on the ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. But, it wasn't, people can be on the ride, but you weren't just on the ride, you were doing your part. You contributed a piece, but what turned out to be a key piece that revealed that it wasn't mutual. The people of Hawaii didn't want to become part of the United States, and it was what people thought was an annexation was really a takeover, an illegal takeover. It's like a ripple effect. The ripple effect continues to go outward and outward and outward as more and more people become aware of, educated, and awakened to the fact that what happened here was an illegal takeover and that Hawaii really is not part of the U.S. What do you see as the future of Hawaii? Or maybe I should ask, how would you like to see the future of Hawaii?
I would like to be able to see the future of Hawaii. I think that these islands, being so remote, being so separate, should be independent. We have to constantly be looking to the island nature of Hawaii and to what that means, and nurturing the clues that come from the Hawaiian people who have had so much more experience at that than the rest of us. And we can't just think of ourselves as a state of the United States, because we're lost at that point.
You're swallowed up.
Swallowed up.
Tom, what do you say to people who say, well, you know what, that sounds really nice, but the fact is this is part of America, the United States, and this is never going back the other way?
Mm-hmm. Boundaries change. Boundaries do change. History is full of instances where boundaries change. Whoever says that is just relying on, conventional babble. The struggle is to find the balance between maintaining life here and then maintaining the relationship with the outside world. And it's always been the struggle, regardless of how it came out. But that would be the struggle, regardless. And so it would still have to do with taking care of all the resources. The ruthless taking of land results in shutting out access, and therefore shutting down memory. Right?
Yes.
Shutting down intimate relationship between people and the land, the water, the place to swim, the place to surf, etc., the place that fed you. You're taking a step into reawakening relationship.
Reawakening that connection.
Right.
Yes.
You're reawakening memory.
Wow.
So that's something that we can always work on.
That's a big important step, isn't it?
Like if you look at Molokai. Molokai was one of the big inspirations. And
The island of Molokai. The people on there was an inspiration for you, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why? There was a period where I went there, 24 times. I don't know. I can't remember how many times I went there. But they initially had Hui Alaloa, the Hui of the long trail, the long path, right? And it was the group of people who walked all the way over the mountain, around the island,
All the way around?
Yeah.
Wow.
And they reestablished the relationship of their feet to the island,
To the ground, to the land.
That the big landowners, the essentially feudal pattern of landowners, tried to keep people from doing, And it was a very, very big step. It was a very important step in preserving the culture of Molokai, and in access rights are very important.
We have a lot of people who watch Voices of Truth, our TV show here and throughout Hawaii,
Right.
but they also watch in many places around the world.
Right.
And I wouldn't be surprised at all if today there are people watching the show who are young people, who are thinking of getting into journalism or want to become filmmakers.
Yeah.
They want to learn how to get a message out. Maybe they feel like you did, some compelling message inside them that has to get out. And they may be sitting watching us right now going, wow, that was great what he did, I'm inspired, but I don't know if little old me could do something like that. What would you say to them?
Well, definitely they can. And I think I'd say something like, in everything and in every person there is a story. If you patiently work at bringing it out, develop the stories that you have authentic access to. Don't do things that are inauthentic,
Wow.
And when you do that, you start having things that you start creating things that are engaging, and the things that are engaging have some your word truth. They have a ring of a resonance of truth, a ring of truth, and people know it when they see it.
Tom, I really like what you said about in everything and in every person there's a story, and that's where we have to leave it today. Thank you so much for being on Voices of Truth. Wanted to have you on the show for a long time, and it's great to have you on here. And please keep doing the wonderful work you've been doing.
Okay, I really enjoyed it.
Me too. And to our viewers, thank you for joining us on this very special edition of Voices of Truth One-on-One with Hawaii's Future. Remember, you can watch us on the web 24/7 on voicesoftruth.tv.com. I'm Ehu Kekahu Cardwell for the Kiwani Foundation. And until next time, ahui ho! follow for watching Voices of Truth one-on-one with Hawaii's future. Watch us on the web 24/7 at voicesoftruth.tv.com. You'll find all our shows, including this one, in case you want to see it again or share it with family and friends. Also view our weekly video commentaries at freehawaiitv.com. And check out our blog, published daily, at freehawaii.info. It's all part of the Free Hawaii Broadcasting Network.